Do what you want, the man calls out when I reach the edge of the graveyard. It doesn't matter, I'm the last. If I hadn't already known he was a farmer, his accent and his formality of his speech would have given him away. My father sometimes had a hint of their inflection in his voice when he came back from the canyons. I told the others to stay behind, but of course Indy didn't listen. I hear her coming up behind me, and I hope that Cassia and Eli had the sense to stay in the house. Who are you? The man asks. Indy answers behind me. I don't turn around. Aberrations, she said, people the society wants dead. We came into the canyons to find the farmers because we thought you might help us, I say. We're done with that, the man says. Finished. Footsteps behind us. I want to turn around and to call Cassie and Eli to return to the house, but I can't turn my back on the man. So there are 4 of you, he says. Any more? I shake my head. I'm Eli, Eli says behind me. And for a minute the man doesn't answer. Then he says, my name is Hunter. He looks at us closely. I do the same. He's not much older than we are, I realize. But the wind and weather have marked his face. Did any of you live in the society? He asked. We all did, I say, at one time or another. Good, the hunter says. I may need something from you. In exchange for what? I say. If you can help me, Hunter says, you can have access to whatever you want. We have food, papers. He waves his hand wildly in the direction of the storage caves. Then he looks behind me. Though it appears you might have already helped yourself. We thought this place was empty, Eli said. We'll give it all back. Hunter makes an impatient gesture. It doesn't matter. What is it you want? Things for trade? Yes, I say. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Cassia and Indy exchange glances. Hunter notices too. What else? He asks. Indy speaks up. We'd like to know more about the rising, she says. If it's somewhere near here, or how can we find it? And who the pilot might be, Cassia says eagerly. Of course she wants to know about the rebellion since it seems to be the mention of the poem from her grandfather. I wish I told her everything back on the hill. She might have understood then. But now, after she's begun to hope, I don't know what to do. I might have some answers for you, Hunter says. You help me, and then I'll tell you what I know. Let's get started, Indy says. What do you want us to do? It's not that easy, Hunter says. We have to go somewhere, and it's getting too dark. Come back here tomorrow when it's light. He reaches for the shovel he used for the grave, and I motion the others to step back. How do we know we can trust you? I ask. He laughs again. The same humorless laugh. A faint echo of it bounces back from the walls of the canyon among the empty houses. Tell me, Hunter says, in this society do you people really live to be 80? Yes, Cassia says, but that's only for citizens. 80, Hunter says. We almost never reach 80 in the carving. Do you think it's worth it, he asks, to have no choice but to live so long? Some people think it is, Cassia says quietly. Hunter passes his blue-marked hands across his face, and he said what he said earlier is suddenly true. He's done. Finished. Tomorrow, he says. He turns around and walks away. Everyone sleeps in the little house. Eli, Cassia, Indy. I stay awake and listen. Their breathing makes it sound as though the house itself breathes in and out, but of course the walls hold still. I know Hunter won't harm us, but I can't rest. I have to keep watch. Sometime near the approach of dawn, I'm standing in the doorway looking out. I hear the sound from the other side of the room. Someone's awake. Indy. She comes towards me. What do you want? I ask, trying to keep my tone even. I recognize Indy for a moment. I saw her. She is like me, a survivor. I don't trust her. Nothing, Indy says. In the silence, I hear her shift the pack, and she never lets it out of her sight. What are you hiding in there? I ask. There's nothing to hide, she says. The edge of her voice, everything in here belongs to me. She pauses. Why don't you want to join the rising? I don't answer. We stand in silence for a while. Indy pulls her pack over her shoulder and holds it tightly against her chest. It seems far away. I am too. Part of me is back with Sia under the stars in the carving, on the hill in the wind, back in the burrow when I was young. I never would have believed any of this could happen. Never dreamed I could steal so much from the society. I hear someone stirring. Cassia. She dreams about Alexander, Indy whispers behind me. I've heard her call his name. I tell myself the scraps Alexander hid in the tablets don't matter. Cassia knew Alexander and she still chose me. And the scraps won't last. The paper deteriorates so quickly. They'll turn into flakes and disintegrate as snow. As sprint and silent as ash. I can't lose her now. Lived in the outer province for much of his life. Peers listed Kai Markingham's name as the student they most admire 0.0% time. No one was ever going to get a list about me, and no one would love someone else would want the person to have as a match like me. Does loving someone mean you want them to be safe, or that you want them to be able to choose? What do you want? I ask Indy. I want to know Alexander's secret, Indy says. What do you mean? The answer she holds out in the scrap paper. Cassia drops it. Indy says, and didn't give it back. I know I shouldn't have taken the scraps, but I do. Careful to keep the light away from Cassia and Eli. I switch on my flashlight and read the paper. Has a secret he tells his match when he sees her again. A line like that would never be included on Alexander's official microcard. He added something. How did he do it? I asked in spite of myself, as though Indy would know. The society carefully monitors all typing and printing. Did he risk using a port at school, at home? He must be very smart, Indy says. He is, I say. So what's the secret? Indy asks, leaning closer. I shake my head. It makes you think I know. I do know, and I'm not telling. You and Alexander were friends, Indy said. Cassia told me so. And I think you know a lot more than you say. About what? I ask. Everything, she says. I think the same about you, I say. You're hiding something. I shine my flashlight full on her, and she blinks. In the light, it looks almost blindingly beautiful. Her hair is the color that I haven't seen very often. A fire color of red and gold. She's tall and fine-featured and strong, wild. She wants to survive, but there's an element of unpredictability about her, and she'll do that to keep me on edge. I want to know the secret, she says, and how to find the rising, and I think you know the answers. And won't tell Cassia, and I think I know why. I shake my head, but I don't speak. I let the silence hang between us, and she can fill it if she chooses. For an instant, I think she will, and then she turns away and walks back to the spot where she slept. She doesn't look at me again. After a moment, I walk back to the door and steal outside. I open my hand in the wind and let the scrap blow away into the blast of the night.